Hello and welcome back to CookIdeas. Today we are creating Greek Pastitsio. Hopefully it will be a huge success. Please enjoy.
Once again, welcome to Cook Ideas. Today we are going to do Pastitsio, a Greek dish very similar to the Italian lasagna. This is in three different stages. So the first stage, these are the ingredients, what you need. So we have all the basic ingredients: onions, butter, tomato paste, tomato puree, chopped ginger, chopped garlic, and minced chicken. Also have a bouquet garni which has cinnamon and cloves. The quantity is given in the ingredients. First we need to make the meat base ready. For that we add the butter and the olive oil. Olive oil is around quarter cup. Make sure the heat is low. First add the ginger, just saute for a minute or so. Then add the garlic. Make sure the heat is low. Then add the onions. You don't need to brown the onions completely, you just need to control the way a glazed look. That's what we are going for, the onions. Add a bay leaf. The difference between lasagna and the Greek version is the Greek version uses cinnamon and cloves, so it's more a spicier version. Add the chicken mince. Now a lot of water will come out of the mince, so we need to make sure the chicken mince is properly, almost like fried, because we don't want much water in our base. The liquid should evaporate eventually. Once it is, as you see, once it is whitish in color, you can add the tomato puree. Try to break this. If there are bigger pieces, you need to try to break it up. And now we can add the bouquet garni. Eventually we'll remove the bouquet garni because we don't need it anymore. Now we need to add some salt and some pepper. Be aware that this dish is slightly modified. Add the tomato paste. It's modified because first of all, this dish is made with beef. We do not make with beef, we made with chicken, so that is one of the first things. I remove the bouquet garni. The reason is because I don't want it to break up there, so I'll just give it a good mix and then put it back. As I said, like it is originally in Greece, it's made with beef, and also they use certain ingredients of this like cheese, very special to the country. Now I add 2 tablespoons to 3 tablespoons of vinegar. I used apple cider vinegar. You can use any vinegar, white vinegar would do. First I need to cover it up and cook for some time. Basically I do not want any water to be there. It should be completely dry, and it looks quite wonderful now. It's completely dry, and we don't want any, there is no liquid there. Now you could taste a little bit and see, maybe you need to adjust the salt, etc. Next we do the sauce. These are the ingredients for the sauce. Basically it's a bechamel sauce, which is basically a white sauce with a little bit of difference here there. We don't want the sauce to be very loose, we want a very thick sauce. For that purpose I am using 1 liter of milk, around 120 grams of flour. I am using cheese too, which is around 3 different type of cheese I am using as seen in the ingredients. Parmesan, I am using ricotta cheese, as well as I am using you can use, matter of fact you can use any cheese, it doesn't matter, but Parmesan is an important cheese in this. Initially I add the celery. If you don't have celery, you can go with an onion chopped. Basically celery gives a better flavor to the sauce. Make sure the heat is low, because you have just put butter in there. We just want the celery to sweat, that's all. Okay. Now once the celery is slightly sweated, now we can add the flour. When we add the flour, I generally reduce the heat completely and give it a good whisk. I usually use a whisk for this purpose. Give it a good whisk, because you don't want lumps to form. We are not going to brown the flour, we are just going to cook it basically. If you brown it, it becomes brown sauce. We want the sauce to still retain the white color. Give it a good whisk. Now we can add the milk. When you add the milk, I suggest take it out of the fire, because see, I switched off the flames because there are chances of lumps forming. You don't want lumps to form, so basically we are taking it out of the fire. Then we'll add the milk. The idea is to add the milk slowly. Don't add everything together. Little by little you add, and then whisk it properly. Then the lumps won't form. You'll have a more homogeneous mixture. The trick of this whole dish is based on the sauce. So the sauce is the most important factor in this dish. Once it's mixed properly, you can switch on the flame, medium to low flame. No need to heat it too hard, but keep on stirring. What I do is I use a hand mixer, because it gives a real, I don't want the celery to be there, I want it to be completely blended in the sauce. So that's one of the reasons. So I have taken help from my sous chef, the young lady there decides to help me out in this. Meantime, my spaghetti bowl is getting boiled. I need to boil the spaghetti. The spaghetti I'm using is a thicker version. It's called bucatini. For the Greek dish in Greece, they use a much thicker version than that. But then we don't have it here. We don't get it here. So bucatini is the closest. Now I use a hand mixer so that I can blend it up properly. And as I said, you get a much smoother sauce. Now you can add the ricotta cheese. And use the blender again. Just for your information, all the ingredients are given and so I am not going ahead with the exact quantities, etc. Just follow that and there won't be much trouble. That's a mix of Parmesan cheese and I've used Parmesan cheese and cheddar cheese. So cheddar, I used the mild cheddar version, not the strong one, because Parmesan itself is strong, so you can use any version, doesn't matter. Even processed cheese also would be fine, I suppose. I am adding a little bit of salt, not too much, mind you. Salt has to be controlled in this with this sauce. As you can see, the sauce is thickening well. As you see, it's the sauce is getting coated on that the processor. So basically, we want should be much thicker than that. Now this will be slightly controversial because I am adding some little bit of pepper. Usually on a white sauce you don't add black pepper powder, you add white pepper powder. So, but I didn't have that, so we are going to add some black pepper powder. It depends on taste. I wanted my sauce to be slightly pepperish, so for that I added 2 teaspoons. See, and now I'm going to check the sauce if it is done or not. As you see, it is coated a spoon quite well, quite thick actually. So I'll stop the process now. And once the sauce is cooled slightly, I'm going to add the eggs. For the pasta, as I said before, it is bucatini pasta spaghetti I used. You probably can use any form of spaghetti, but the thinner the spaghetti, you have to undercook it. Basically, that's the whole point. This is a thicker spaghetti. I used around 400 grams of it, and I didn't overcook it. It is slightly undercooked. The reason is because I'm going to bake it. I don't want it to be squishy. So I take it out and I add some water just to take the gluten out. Drain it well. Mind you, this bucatini spaghetti takes quite a bit of time to cook, so keep that in mind. It took me at least 10 to 15 minutes it took to cook. I put that spaghetti in a bowl. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the spaghetti with some feta cheese. I add some olive oil first, just to coat the spaghetti so that it doesn't stick together. Then I add the feta cheese, crumbled feta cheese I add, and give it a good thorough mix. Mind you, when I made the spaghetti, I used only very little salt because feta cheese is quite salty. You have to keep that in mind. So the water which was boiled had just 1 teaspoon of salt for that much of spaghetti. So I didn't use much because feta cheese is a salty cheese. So because of that, I need to be careful there. Now the sauce is slightly cooled, so I can whisk in the eggs. I use 3 eggs here. Whisk it properly because even if it is the sauce is slightly warm, so you don't want the egg to curdle in there. we can make the arrange pasta. See, I use baking paper for this. The reason is because this Greek dish is you can probably cut it like a cake. It doesn't have any liquid under. So that is the reason I use baking paper. Ideally, you need to arrange the spaghetti in such a way that it in a straight line. I didn't bother to do that. It doesn't matter. Then I add some cheese, which was Parmesan and cheddar mix. Then I put my meat base. The chicken meat base we put. Just spread it out properly. Make sure you cover all the region of the tray. Give it a press so that it is. See, ideally, why we don't want pockets of gaps around, because as I said, like, it needs to be cut properly when we finally take it out. After the chicken, we just adding more pasta. Now we can add the sauce. Make sure the sauce covers the whole tray. Give it a tap so that the air pockets are not there. Then I use around 100 grams of mozzarella cheese. Grate it on top. This is fresh mozzarella I've used. You can use even those processed mozzarella also, it doesn't matter. And then I add rest of the Parmesan and cheddar cheese on top. Now, to get a faster browning effect and a uniform browning effect, we can add some chopped butter. Spread it around, and that goes and bakes for 15 minutes at 180 degrees. Then after that, after 15 minutes, I'll just use the top heat for another 7 minutes at 200 degrees. And you have a wonderful golden, beautiful Greek dish, very similar to lasagna, but slightly different flavor. It's quite a heavy dish, so you don't have to eat. You need to take a little bit. Hope you have enjoyed this. Please do subscribe and like. We need support from you guys. Thank you for watching.